Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. This is Sacred Doorways of Trees. So today we're going to discuss the doorways of trees and everything that encompasses this. So we come to these doors, and the earth has magnetic vortexes, and the trees are like the feathers on the back of the earth, pulsating, conscious, thriving on the top of this biosphere. And trees are such a sacred thing, and today, day and age, we don't really participate. We sort of just chop down the trees and don't really think about, well, this is part of the land and the energy that they embody. We have Richard Grant that will be joining us here in a second, and he's going to talk to us about some of the things that we're oaks and things like that. Richard, are you on the line? Sorry, is there Silver Fox? He is here with us today. He is our special guest. Okay. Well, when he comes on, he'll be coming on. You there?
I am here, Summer. How are you?
Okay. I'm good. How are you? My voice is
Wonderful.
A little hoarse today.
And I thank you so much for inviting me on your show tonight. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. I meditated about who I should have on the show, and you came to mind. So I'm so thankful, that you're here tonight. I asked you because I know also, too, you have a connection to the elemental energies, and I know we've spoken a little bit before. Trees and wands and things that are sacred to the Druids and that people really sort of overlook these days. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've experienced with
Certainly.
trees?
One of the things that I think is lacking so much that people nowadays can literally grow up and never be exposed to forests or dense areas of trees and see magnificent trees. The area that I live in, we're very fortunate that we have many, many acres, actually miles and miles of forest with all types of trees, which makes it a very, very interesting place to live. I think that one of the things about trees is if we go back into history and we look at the ancient beliefs long before Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism or any of these other known religions today, was the belief that trees held very special properties and very special powers also.
Indeed. Yes, let's break it off right there, and we will come back, and we will have you on the line to speak more about the magical properties. Right now we're going to go to commercial, and we'll be right back on the line. Okay, welcome back. We're with Silver Fox and discussing the magical properties of trees. You there with us?
I am, Summer. As we were starting to say just before the commercial break, if you go back into history, long before current religions, you will find, for example, with the ancient Egyptians, they had something called the Book of the Dead. And in that you will find very frequently references to the sycamore tree. So that had a very special meaning to those people at that time. The ancient Greeks believed that the oaks had very sacred powers, and they called them sacred groves. So all the way through history, and then when you get to the Christian religions, the Jewish and the Christian religions, you have things like the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledges, which is in both the Jewish scriptures as well as the Christian scriptures. And, of course, the Jewish faith had what was called the Kabbalah. Now, when you look at the symbols of the Kabbalah, it's basically 10 circles all connected with lines and pathways, but that was called the Tree of Life. And it was believed that if you followed those pathways, then you would have a very prosperous and healthy life. We often hear about the Celtics. They had something called the tree calendar. And
that's right. They had an alphabet as
They
well.
Did have an alphabet, and they divided the year into 13 months, which is very similar to some other neo-pagan groups that consider the moon and the phases of the moon very, very important to their life. The tree calendar divided each month into 28 days, so that you only needed one page to know everything about the year, and they allowed for a leap year every 4 years and also the extra day once a year. So the trees have been very, very important to people. And again, the oak tree, which is considered the king of the trees, is very powerful. And if you look at religions like Hinduism, and you see that Buddha was said to sit under a tree, a pipal tree, until he found enlightenment, or nirvana in his case.
Yes, exactly.
So this has always been true. It was my pleasure to share property for over 25 years with a 1,000-year-old oak tree. The oak tree was shown to be that old by a number of experts. And one day I found a limb, a short limb that had fallen from the tree. One of the thoughts that a lot of people have, those who believe that every living thing has feelings and a soul, is that if you take something from a tree, you're supposed to ask that tree if you can cut it so that you can have a piece of it. In my case, the limb had fallen, so I took it, and I have made a beautiful wand.
It was basically given to you, wasn't it? I mean, I think that's the tree saying, here you go, you know?
I'm sorry?
It was meant for you. I said that was basically given to you. So it was the tree saying, basically, here you go. This is for you.
That's the way I felt about it, because the tree was very significant on our property. It was a beautiful thing. Strangers would drive over just to look at it, to sit underneath it, because the arms went out over 200 feet. It was just a breathtaking sight to see. But yes, I think you're right. To me, I felt it was a gift from the tree. And fortunately, I was able to make it into what I consider a very beautiful wand. It's wrapped in leather, and on each end has a very beautiful crystal point.
And I've seen that one. It's amazing.
It's been very good to me. I will say that.
So it has celestite on the top, right? Or selenite? It's selenite, right? And then you have quartz on one end?
I have a quartz point on one end, and I also have a round quartz crystal on the other. And to increase the power, the two quartz are connected by a copper wire that's wound around like a generator, connecting the two crystals. So it really, in my way of thinking, has a great deal of power.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you so much being on Pinnacle of Light, and I would love that you're on here speaking so much about these sacred trees. And I apologize for my voice is hoarse today.
Well, it's been a pleasure being on your show, and I wish you the best. And thank you very much.
I wanted to ask you a few more questions
Sure.
about some trees and some of the magic and that sort of thing. So oak trees, I know that they're connected to the fairy realms and the Devic realms and that sort of thing. And this one that you made the wand with and everything like that. And I've seen the picture, and I've seen that it looks like it almost glows whenever you showed me the picture, and I was just in awe. But don't wands also embody the magical powers of the certain type of tree, and the different trees are used for different sort of things with their wands. Is that right?
That is true. There's a number of trees that people will use the branches from to create wands. And it's easy to do research on some of this, and the belief is that certain trees lend itself to certain powers. It may be a cleansing power. It may be empowering the individual that owns or has the wand. And these can be researched. One of the beautiful things about the Internet is that there are many, many resources available, not just what someone said, but really going into ancient libraries, various colleges and everything have a great deal written that are ancient texts that you can pull this information from.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's so much available to us right now. I did want to just mention right now for all those who are listening, this is Summer Walters, your host with Married to Change Radio on Pinnacle of Light. The call-in number is 516-590-0975, and you can call in and here in the next few minutes if you want to join. Silver Fox and I, we're still discussing some of the spiritual essence and the powers of these trees. And so a lot of times, I guess I'm going to go back to people just see them as, oh, there's this tree on this property, it's in the way, let's cut it down. But to me, when I see a tree and when I meditate, I see something that is connected to the earth. So like you said, when they meditate under the tree, all of these religions that have something in common is this tree, and they're meditating and they get this grounding wisdom, but it's not only the ground, but it reaches up to the heavens. And the tops of the trees are connected to the cosmos and the crown, and they receive that information through the top. And so many of these trees, especially the older trees, they bring in portals to fairies and other beings connected to the Devic kingdoms. And these are sacred kingdoms that have sort of retreated as man has sort of pushed his way through, because these are a lot of feminine, sacred, magical energies that have been sort of pushed aside, like, oh, well, that's just a tree, or that's just a cloud. Well, a lot of these trees have consciousness, and we haven't been paying attention to that. And so the Druids had it right, and the ancients had it right. It's whenever now modern days they come in and they see, oh, well, it's just a tree. Well, what you build your house out, like Solomon's temple was built out of the cedar wood. And to me, that was pretty amazing that he went and got the cedars of Lebanon. Do you know anything about that in any of your studies?
Other than what you just said, no, I don't. I haven't done any research in that particular area. But one of the things that's so interesting, because you were talking about the livingness of trees. When I first moved onto that property that had the 1,000-year-old oak tree, I called out an expert on ancient trees, and what he said was, I said, I'm concerned about, what do I do to take care of it? He said absolutely nothing. It is a living thing. It controls everything around it. If it doesn't want it to live near it, it will destroy it. If it wants it to live near it, it will allow it to live. And speaking of that, here is a poem. It's a very short, it's called Advice from a Tree. And I think it kind of summarizes what we've both been saying here. It says, stand tall and proud, sink your roots into the earth, be content with your natural beauty, go out on a limb, drink plenty of water, remember your roots, enjoy the view. And that's by Island Shaman.
Oh, wonderful. That's beautiful.
And I think if we take time, even if it's in a park, so many parks do have beautiful trees, whether they be willow trees or sycamores or oaks or pines, and just go and feel the life that comes from those trees. Especially take your children, let them enjoy that special time.
Yeah, exactly, children. And, you know, my child, she sort of will tell me about the angels connected to the trees, or the fairies. Some people call them fairies, or some people call them angels, the elemental realms. She's pretty in tune that way, and I'm very thankful because she's sort of been my little angel as well. But, yeah, it's pretty amazing that, you know, I didn't know what to do this show on. I was meditating, and then I got the word dryad, and I was like, what is that? What is that word? So I had to go look it up, and it's in ancient mythology, in Greek mythology, right? And there are these spirits that are in trees. I guess they're the oak female spirits in the trees, and I was like, oh, well, that exists, and it's not really myth. It's actually things that have been recorded in history. Even in the Vedas, they speak of these divas or devas. So it's there. It just got the word myth in front of it to sort of forget about our true heritage.
Every ancient religion and then the modern ones all have connections in some way to nature and to trees.
They do, and they're very sacred. And we can even use them as medicine, you know, using oak or using willow or pine and cedar, and we can use them to burn and cleanse our homes. The ancients would do that as well, and they would have their rituals or moon, you know, fire ceremonies. And every time you, the alchemical process of burning the wood will invoke those spirits, and especially your intent. If your intent is to do that, is to bring those elemental beings, it intensifies the dimensional feeling we have in our realm. It brings it back to us. And so that's why I feel like these energies are coming to us more strongly now than ever. That it's really important.
And if we think about how many different types of fruits and food that we get from trees, it's just amazing.
Yes, it is. They're healing. They feed us. I know in the winter times, I lived in Montana with my dad, and I'd go hiking, and there would be snow everywhere, but underneath the pine trees there would be a hollow, and I would be warm. And there would be snow everywhere, and I would be hollowed out underneath this little pine tree, keeping me warm. Like it was protecting me. So I think we can bring somebody on the line now if it's time for that.
Okay.
If anybody wants to call in and join and ask me or Richard any questions about some of the magic or the energies, or if they have anything to share. And we're going to actually go on a break, and then we will be having the next caller come in. So thank you so much for listening. This is Married to Change Radio with your host, Summer Walters, and our special guest, Silver Fox. He is with us, and he is free to stay with us if you want to stay with us, or you can...
I am. I would love to.
I would love to have you on, and I would love to bring anyone else on, and the number is 516-590-0975, and call in whenever you're ready, and press 1, and you will be connected. Thank you. This is Summer Walters, your host with Married to Change Radio. The call-in number is 516-590-0975, and this is Pinnacle of Light. Call in anytime. So we have Silver Fox with us. Are you there?
I am.
Hello.
I am here. You know, one of the things that was interesting, some of the ancient people, when someone would die, would actually bury them in a hollowed-out tree.
Oh, wow.
That's how much that people thought about the powers and the mysteries of trees.
That's interesting. I mean, I've heard of spells and people casting a spell on somebody's soul and sort of infusing their soul into a tree. And I've seen trees that actually will embody a face or something like that sort of thing. So it's kind of interesting you bring that up. I never knew that.
Did you have a caller?
I don't.
You know, there's also something called the Tree of Noah. And I say all of these ancient beliefs kind of intertwine among each other because these beliefs that are in one religion or one group oftentimes will be shown on the other side of the world having the same feelings towards the same object. So to me, that's like a sign that, yes, this is true.
Yeah, it is. It's just really amazing how it all ties in. Even there was one culture, it was in the Asgardian, the Nine Realms, in their sacred tree, the cosmic tree of life. And then you were telling us how Buddha sat under the tree, and then the Kabbalah, the tree of life. And that to me really stood out to me as well about, well, these trees have consciousness, you know, so you have to sort of ask that tree, like you said, to take a branch from it, or sort of in your mind, you know, ask them, hey, is this okay? You can't just take from nature without repercussions, without being in tune with their forces and that sort of thing.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, they're very sacred to us. And I know one time we talked about Sedona. Oh, we have a caller actually right now.
Okay.
Am I connected? Hello, am I connected?
Yes, you're connected. Hello.
Hi, Summers. Christina.
Hey, Christina. How are you?
Pretty awesome. A beautiful discussion, beautiful voices on both of y'all. So I was kind of wondering in this great discussion about trees, you kind of touched on conservation. I was wondering if y'all had any thoughts on maybe any little things that we as individuals or as a group can do to, you know, help conserve the idea of conservation.
Right. I feel like if you plant, like if you eat an apple and you plant it, or, you know, plant fruit trees in your yard, those sort of things, sort of take part in the community. Silver Fox, do you have any ideas as far as?
Well, I think there's a couple things going on, and it's kind of a dichotomy. In some parts of the world, you have people who are going into like rainforest and just cutting down thousands of acres with no thought of the repercussions. And sometimes the repercussions is great floods, because the trees allow the water to seep into the ground, but when it's all cleared, the floods can come and destroy the people around it, the villages and everything. But on the other hand, you do have a lot of industries that are involved in trees and all that are actually planting more trees than they're cutting down. So they've almost become farmers rather than just going out into the wild and cutting down. Just like people would plant corn, they're now growing, if you will, trees on farms and they are planting more than they're cutting down. So in many areas now, the trees are more abundant than they were, say, 50 or 75 years ago. So that's a good thing. I think it's when we go into areas where we don't even know what's really there, like rainforests. We're like you were talking about the healing of plants and trees and all. To go in there and destroy things before we know what we really have in there or what we're losing by doing that, I think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Native Americans, they were very in tune and respected the forces of nature, whereas when a lot of the Europeans and the other races sort of came in and started chopping down and not really knowing what kind of elements they were getting into. I think to revere what there is and sort of listen to the land as we build. And I know you're out of Austin, is that right, Christina?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and they're very conscious and eco-friendly about leaving larger trees and building in accordance to the land and not polluting as much. Generally speaking, I would say more than a lot of other places.
I agree. I mean, I think we still have a ways to go, but we've definitely taken some steps and made it known.
Yeah,
so thank y'all
for
for letting me join.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Christina. I appreciate it. It's wonderful to have your voice on here.
All right, well, I'll keep listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. This is Married to Change Radio, and if you would like to call in, the number is 516-590-0975. I'm Summer Walters, your host, and this is Pinnacle of Light. And let's go back to what we were speaking about. So I was told that dryads were actually nymphs, but they were of the forest. And I know you were talking about the oaks and how that they were considered sacred to the Druids or that sort of thing. I also read that King Arthur's round table was made from an oak tree, and they were considered highly magical wood.
Yes.
Good luck, protection. And it's a good tea, actually. I love white oak bark tea. It's good for kind of migraines and inflammation and that sort of thing. And when you drink it, it sort of tunes you as well. It tunes your vibration to that vibration of the elementals. So that's what's missing, too, in people, I think, in diet. Our diets are missing what's around us, you know, the plants that are here that have been placed here for our body's attunement, for grounding, meditation. So we've sort of just become a consumerist lifestyle and stepped a bit back from that. And I want to talk about willow trees, because to me willows are very much a goddess tree, and they symbolize water, the moon, and emotions, energy. And I remember one time I went to meditate under a willow tree, and I was really distraught over some emotional stuff. And it was a new moon, and I was sitting under this tree, and I got my answer, and I got my peace, and I got my calm within about 5 minutes. And it was something that had been really just bothering me, eating away at me. And all I did was sit still, I listened, I cleared my mind of all the clutter, and I got the healing and everything that I needed from the willow. Are you familiar with any other plant medicines and that sort of thing?
Well, to some degree, but you were talking about the willow. That actually is the April 15th to May 12th tree on the Celtic tree calendar.
Interesting.
And they do relate it to the moon.
Mhm.
One of the things that's most interesting, if anyone has the opportunity to talk to a Chinese medical doctor that was trained in China, their beliefs are not to cure you from your disease that you have now, but to keep you well to start with. And if you've ever gone into a Chinese pharmacy, you'll see rows and rows and rows of little boxes. And when they make up a prescription for a patient, these are twigs and roots and leaves from a wide variety of plants and trees. And they believe that it is the value and the nutrition and the medical benefits of these items rather than just chemicals.
Oh, yeah. That's really important. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. We have to go on a break. But when we get back, we will very much discuss the benefits of using plant-based medicine as opposed to synthesized things in a lab that no longer vibrate to our bodies, organic beings, and the earth. And we are going on break now. Thank you so much. Radio with your host, Summer Walters, on Pinnacle of Light. We have Silver Fox talking with us, and we have another caller on the line that we're bringing on as well. We were just speaking about synthesized things in a lab and Chinese medicine. Silver Fox, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, great. So what exactly were you talking about as far as in these shops?
I was saying that the philosophies of the Chinese medical doctors are kind of on the opposite end of the Western doctors. Over here, we wait till we get sick and go to a doctor, and then he gives us something that makes our stomach upset. And then he gives us something for the upset stomach, which upsets our liver. Then they give you something for the liver that upsets your spleen, and they give you something, and it's just on and on and on and on. Where in the Asian community of medicine, they believe in keeping you well. And they believe you do that by making sure that your body is balanced. And one of the ways they do that is by various herbs. And when you look at it, you say, that's a tree limb, or that's a twig, or what is that? Because it doesn't look like pills like we get down at the pharmacy. But they're strong believers that all of this, what is basically living things, can help our body to stay well. And if you look around, you'll notice that we've always commented in the Western world about how long the Asian people live.
Yeah. And it's about the whole thing. It's not about run yourself into the ground until your elbows don't work, or till you mess your neck up, or till you hurt your back from driving. And so, yeah, a lot of people are sort of doing that in our culture because there's much of a demand on just work. And they put a philosophy of, you know, the river has to be flowing for the health to be good, and they pay attention to the body, to the temple, to meditation, the whole thing, not just, you know, make money and have a house and have a car, you know, not just the material things, but that's very true. And we take a pill, and even these pills, I spoke to a professor about a documentary that was done in California in Orange County about all the pills and the chemicals that were in the water from people using the bathroom.
Yes.
And sometimes dumping them, but typically just from using the bathroom, they're in the water, and they were deforming the frogs and messing up the ecosystems and making them toxic. So they're putting it in their body, and there are all of these side effects and all of these class action suits that they have with the pharmaceuticals. And then it takes 7 years, he was saying, for the vegetation to cleanse out the chemicals and that sort of thing of the ecosystem. So I think it's very important. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it wasn't so serious, it'd almost be comical when you watch nightly television, and about every second commercial is a new drug to cure something. But the advertisement for the medication is usually about 10 seconds, and then the rest of the commercial is about all the side effects, and one of the things it's always going to do is kill you. And the thing about it is strange in our society is that most of these drugs are prescription drugs, so it doesn't do the person listening to the television any good, because they can't walk down to their pharmacist and just get it over the counter. So it's just a matter of trying to browbeat your doctor that this is what I want, whether I need it or not. So I think if we can get back to a healthier way, if we can enjoy nature, if we can understand how nature works with us, I think we would all probably be better.
Oh, for sure. And I've even done the research as far as, like, I do massage therapy and aromatherapy. And when I was working with the chiropractor, they would have these essential oils. And so I started learning, and I started studying, and I opened this book. And in this book, it were all these cures for all these diseases that doctors had told me there were no cures for. And I was just floored at the fact that one thing could cure measles, mumps, rubella, and people are taking these vaccinations, or that there's a cure for Parkinson's, but nobody knows about it, and that sort of thing. So there's magic, and there's healing, and there's things in these plants that we have to reunite with, because it's important for our longevity as a society as a whole. I really feel that if we want to thrive and stay on this planet, and we need to really get with the program. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, because of so many people's lives are very hectic, they almost don't have time to think about that. And it's very sad that they don't, because once they get sick, then they get into this treadmill of take this and then take this and take this and take this.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm very thankful for trees, because they've taught me so much, and they've sort of they've, like animals, they've been there, sort of just like temples on earth, retuning me, reconnecting me with what's right, and the fact that they're here for us, to help us, it's just a wonderful thing. I'm really, just...
We need to spread the word more about how living things like trees are important in our lives. And it's not just something to look at, but it really does have a direct effect on our lives.
Yeah, I was reading about the diva spirit, and it was saying that if somebody were to cut down a tree, that there would be consequences if you were not to sort of ask permission first. And it says those are related to droughts and famines and things like that, spiritual things that man doesn't really say, hey, if I desecrate this property or I do something spiritually not okay, in God's eyes or the natural laws, then, there are repercussions and that sort of thing for how we live. And
no doubt
whether
about
that be cancer or whatever that is, yeah. But I would like to invite any other callers that would like to call in. If you have any questions or anything that you know of that's magical or anything about the portals and the doorways that these trees open, the number is 516-590-0975. Please call in and feel free to join in with us.
And I would recommend that anybody that's listening is interested in the Asian approach to medicine. They don't have to go to an Asian doctor. They can simply go to an Asian pharmacy and just sit there and talk to the people and look at how they make up the concoctions that they give their patients, and what a wide variety, and they're all from living things.
Right. And that's what's really neat about Hermetic. I had learned a little bit about just listening to your inner voice, listening to what Spirit is saying. Not only are the things outside of you telling you, but for you to quiet your mind and go within and say, I really feel like this certain element is coming to me, and I need this in my life right now. And listening to your body and listening, do your research. Don't just depend. Yes, get a practitioner, get somebody that you trust and think is a holistic practitioner. That's wonderful. But your body already has all the answers. Like your body will tell you, that's too much sugar, or I need more sleep, or I need more green. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, for example, one of the things that we're talking about trees, years ago, sailors who were on ships for a very, very long time came down with something called scurvy. And it was a very, very serious disease. And yet someone was able to find out that lemons replaced what the body was needing, which was vitamin C and B and F and riboflavin and all, and it cured scurvy. And here we have a fruit from a tree curing people that in most cases died from it. And that's just one example. There's so many other examples where fruits from trees have healing properties.
Oh, yeah, that's what I use. If I need something, I will definitely go to plants first before. There are times when there are emergencies and you need certain things, but I go to the plants and things that are natural before the chemicals and the synthetic things, because those throw us off, throw our vibration off, and actually can make us more sick if we're not taking things that are organic and that sort of thing.
And again, I think what happens is in our medical profession is so overwhelmed with all the things that's available to them, and the number of patients they sometimes have, that the quickest way for them is not really to find what's causing all the problem, but let's just give you something for that ailment you got right now.
Yeah, and maybe there's an emotional issue, or maybe there's, it's more than just a pill to fix, something like that. I know there are things like in pine, there are so many healing properties when I was doing the research on the essential oil of pine and how cleansing it is and purifying. It's good for protection. And so I know that these things work. I know the settlers use pine tea, and it's a good astringent. It's good for wound care. There's a concoction you can make with honey and pine resin, and you can use it like a cure-all. Like, basically, a lot of these things cure everything, and people just don't know because it's been disinformation, or they just don't know about them. It should be first and foremost what we learn about and, handed down to our children. All of these plants that are here, all the trees. But yeah, the cedar is also a very sacred and cleansing tree as well. I like cedar a lot. Yeah, for its clearing, and it summons helpful spirits, in rituals and that sort of thing. So if you're burning it around the house, I knew a shamanic practitioner, and she would cleanse this massage area because people release so much energy, and she used cedar. And she used cedar throughout the whole building and burned it. And then other people will use sagebrush, or I like pine a lot, and I like to use dragon's blood. I think that one's really powerful. I know it's really powerful for different entities and cleansing them off, like darker energies. Mm-hmm. So the more we dig and the more we know about the magical, healing, all-encompassing energies of these trees, it's really...
Something you said a minute ago, I think, is one of the keys to all of this. You're saying about people don't get this information passed down. You don't have to go too many generations back, that it was quite common to have 3 or 4 generations living in one house, or maybe on the same farm. So the great-grandmother was there with the grandmother, with the mother, and then the children and all. So they got to see all of these. That's very rare nowadays, especially in the Western world. So a lot of these things that would normally be passed down from older family members just don't exist anymore. So people just turn to the aspirin and give me another pill so I can get well.
Yeah, and that's what I resonate with, is the grandparents that take this castor oil, this castor oil, and that's what helps. And I've actually done the research on these plant oils and these things, and the side effects are minimal, if none, as opposed to the side effects of the other things. So it's about the information getting back to the people and the truth getting back out there. And not only that they're medicinal, but that they're magical, that they protect us on a spiritual level, where we can feel like you walk into a house that's haunted and you feel, this house feels icky. It feels like something happened bad here. You know that there are certain plants that can cleanse that off of you. So I think they're very, very important for our day-to-day living. Not just day-to-day, but, all-encompassing. So.
There are so many plants. The one that always comes to mind to me is the aloe plant. Again, going back to the Egyptians, they believed that the aloe plant had many, many healing properties, and it does. And I've known people that, if you have a bad sunburn, rather than running to the doctor and getting something, you can take an aloe vera plant, take the stalk, take the bark off, and take the jelly, and it's one of the finest things for sunburns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can eat it too, and
you can eat it too. I had a relative that swears he was cured from a bleeding ulcer by drinking the boiled jelly and then drinking it every day from an aloe vera plant.
Yeah, aloe is good. They use it in the Chinese cooking. They use aloe vera with sugar, like a beverage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They use it for things, so it's good. And I have to learn some recipes. Or
you can do that on your next show.
Yeah, possibly. I think actually the next show is going to be Sacred Harmonics of the Celestial Sphere, so we're going to go into some of that stuff. But I think aloe vera would be a good idea to do, for sure. But anyway, yeah, it's just really amazing that there are guardians and elementals, that sort of thing, that are connected with us. And we have a caller on the line. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, this is Mary to Change, Pinnacle of Light, with your host, Summer Walters. Who's this?
Oh, this is Sean.
Hi.
Hello? Yeah, hi. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you really good.
Okay, great. Oh, yeah, it was just a question of, as far as plants, I heard things when it comes to the natural environment with plants and whatnot, that two things, plants communicate faster than the speed of light, and also they record everything, like the Akasha record, which is very spiritual, which I'm very into, and I find that very, very intriguing and very serene and wonderful.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that. I mean, I didn't break it down on that level. Thank you so much for sharing that. What are some of your specific experiences that you've had with the plant realm?
Well, it's when it comes to earthing is very grounding, so to speak, but nonetheless, it's very difficult to get away from the EMF signals and all the electromagnetic smog or pollution out there. It's good to get away and to get into the natural environment, which it's so subtle yet so very profound to go into that realm, and and if they're that subtle yet that Star Trek Beyond the Speed of Light, they just naturally do it subtly, yet they do it, and it just happens that way.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you have any experiences with any kinds of medicines or plants or trees that have kind of helped you onto the doorways of the Akashic records or that sort of thing?
Myself, no. Just because of living within the not the suburban area, but rather just in town, it's difficult to get out and about. Yet when you get out and about within nature, it feels so. It just feels. It's just a wonderful feeling.
Are you in Canada? Is that where
No.
you're in? Are you? No. You have a Canadian accent.
No, I'm close. I'm in Minnesota.
Oh, in Minnesota. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, I mean just with the snow going on, it's a little difficult, but when summer comes around, it's absolutely wonderful. It's profound. It's just relaxing, And then also too, I've heard that if you want to resync your normal human biorhythm, so to speak, just get out in nature for is like a day or 3 days or something, and then if you're out there camping, then you can resync, just get away from all those Wi-Fi signals and just reconnect with what the Garden of Eden,
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Well, it's definitely the elven realms, the sprites, the fays, the dryads, the elementals of the woodland realms. I mean, those are the things that we're reconnecting with. Especially, I think, if we take them as a medicine and research and know what we're having as a food, like the natives would eat the acorns and that sort of thing. I think that's so important for us to reconnect, not only ground, but to partake in them on many levels. And I'm so thankful that you came on today and shared that with us, because I really didn't connect the Akashic records to the plants, because they do store all that information, especially in the rings of the trees and like what the weather was like and what's been going on in that area, and if there are people that have passed away or there were wars or hauntings and that sort of thing. So thank you.
Yeah, apparently, I guess they record everything because they're there. It's faster than light, meaning time space is irrelevant. And I also do want to thank the speaker, because I was really listening to him, and he has just wonderful, great knowledge, and he's just a groovy fellow. I appreciate him coming along and also talking to you.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate him coming on as well, because he is very much the masculine energy that I needed for this show tonight. So, Silver Fox, can you give us some of your info that you can be contacted at?
Well, I do have a Facebook page. It'll be under Richard Grant, Grant, and I'd be glad to, if people have any questions or anything, they're more than welcome to contact me there.
Yes, thank you so much.
And I've had a real pleasure tonight, and I look forward to hearing you again on your radio show.
Well, I would love to have you back on. And thank you, Sean, so much for sharing that information about the speed of light and Akashic records. That was pretty neat as well. We are actually going to be getting off the radio, and I appreciate you guys so much tonight. So I can also be contacted on Facebook at Summer Walters. Sean, do you have a way that we can contact you as well, or do you prefer to stay anonymous?
No, I'm not anonymous, because I've already contacted you, Summer. That's how I got onto this. So.
Okay, can you give us your information?
Oh, my information?
Yeah.
Well, it's Sean Patrick at what the heck is it? Facebook.
So you're on Facebook? Okay, awesome. Yeah, I thought your voice sounded familiar. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I love having the elemental energies that have been with us tonight so much. Thank you so much for being on Pinnacle of Light, and this is Married to Change Radio.
All right, thank you very much.